Welcome, East Midlands members. Lots of new faces for our only Zoom. We've got a 15-minute talk from Brendan, and then we'll have a chat with him. Do we give people time to come, or do you want to get started so you've got more time with Brendan? What would you like to do?
I vote get started.
Yeah, I am really pleased that Brendan has been able to come and share his story with you. I've met Brendan probably about a year ago now, and I've been following his career, and it's all in the talk, really. You'll get to know him a little bit. He's going to share a little bit of his history, a little bit of his union activity, and what the activism of trade unionism really means to him in his career. Give you the insights, and then we'll get him on screen and have some questions. So, Brendan Bradley.
Good morning to my siblings in solidarity. I'm Brendan Bradley, an actor, writer, director, and scrappy storyteller, and I want to apologize for the change in format today. I am with you live on the Zoom. However, I have to be in the airport, and I figure that would be very loud and distracting for being able to just communicate some basics of what I'm here to chat about today. But for our Q&A portion afterwards, I will be here live. I can respond in the chat, and I'll be able to respond also just with a lot of noise and energy around me. So I figured this was a better way to start off our conversation. I'm actually here in Las Vegas at CES, which is a technical conference in America every single year, where all the kind of major consumer electronics gather to talk about the latest innovations and kind of explorations for the upcoming year. Obviously, AI is a big buzzword, as well as some other kind of streaming technologies and other integrative technologies for VR, XR, which we can get into in a little bit. I am here representing the New Technology Committee for SAG-AFTRA, of which I am officially the co-chair for the first time this year. And this has been a new evolution in my own union service, which I wanted to chat with you all about today, because I understand that that is what this lovely regional office of equity is set up to do. I am also a proud member of Actors Equity in America, which is the separate theater union. I began as a theater actor in North Carolina. I started producing my own plays as a teenager because I didn't have access to a community playhouse. And this was my first experience of what has become sort of the trifecta of not only my career, but I think representative of our generation of storytelling, especially as it integrates to live performance, accessibility, and new technology. I then got my training at New York University's Tisch School of the Arts with a brief stint at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London, and then I began doing regional theater and off Broadway theater and all sorts of devised workshop theater all over the country and all over the world, until a brand new website called YouTube came along, and I joined an early creator community, which led me to my own career in traditional film and television, but always with this self-generative bent towards devising and creating my own work. I cold called tourism boards to sponsor and produce my first feature film. I built a spaceship in my one-bedroom apartment to bring to life a sci-fi series which premiered on Legendary's digital network as well as at Comic-Con. Like many of us during the pandemic, I began using virtual platforms to perform all over the world while trapped in my living room, which ultimately involved releasing a free playhouse for anybody to stage live theatrical productions and events inside of web-based virtual reality, which is basically a 3D extension to any website that any user can enter and explore with each other through their web-connected device, their phone, tablet, computer, or if they have a VR headset. I've since performed and produced about 50 live virtual reality theatrical productions, either virtually or on stage all over the world, which is how I first met Karen and have come to talk to you today. However, last year, this scrappy storytelling took on a whole new meaning as I found myself on the front lines of the dual writers and actors strike in Los Angeles. I was nominated the very first day as a strike captain with 4 other volunteers at the Paramount strike location. And while we had the support of our union staff and our sibling union on the ground also striking, we had never run a labor action in 40 years as a union, and we had no strike captain system. So we were building the airplane as we flew it. And this is where all of my devised theater, all of my producing, and all of my scrappy storytelling started to take on a new union context, which I'd love to walk through with you today. Just like any production, we needed a centralized form of communication, scheduling, organization. And so we very quickly spun up a Google document that acted as a real-time repository that anybody could contribute and crowdsource information, knowledge, suggestions, and their own personal information to. We had a weekly schedule document with all of the gates and slots that we needed someone to serve so that people could sign themselves up or remove themselves if their schedule changed. And every night we sent out a call sheet because we are total nerds, telling everybody what their assignment was for the next day, any important notifications, as well as some fun little ways to get to know each other a little bit better on the line. We then started co-building systems and structures for how to navigate food donations, celebrity appearances, themed pickets, medical issues, traffic issues, and training new people to become strike captains and support our movement. All of this was done pretty much asynchronously through a few Google Documents, a Discord, a Signal app on our phones, but none of it with any sort of budget or background in running a labor action. And it was a really empowering and teachable moment for all of us for all 118 days on the line. But for me, it was just really an incredibly inspiring and educational moment to remember that unions are just people. It's just a grassroots organization driven by the members, designed to empower and support and protect all of the members collectively. And that's why I really appreciate and support the efforts you all are doing to build out this next chapter of equity. But for the most part, all these systems and structures were pretty equivalent to what we all might be doing already in our daily lives when we produce a play with our friends or a short film or even a sketch for online content. That kind of asynchronous collaboration using free consumer tools to bring to life that accessibility, that performance access, and leverage new technology. And really the educational and inspiring part for me was that reminder that unions are just people. It's a grassroots organization of members driving decision making together to really empower the betterment of all their fellow members. And that's why I really applaud the efforts that you all are doing, opening up this next chapter of equity and using new technology, hopefully, to connect with sibling unions around the world and empower your own membership. But the big thing that I did not expect was the impact of social media. I've been very early to many social media platforms in the past, and I've had a lot of success leveraging these tools for communication and community. But the strike, something different happened. I found myself, instead of having a single viral post or a small niche community that I was interacting with around a single project, I found my content go truly viral and truly global in a way that I've never experienced before. And I really attribute it to a few key factors, but especially that I used a very specific format. And as we all move into a new year and that next project, I'm starting to find that this hook can be applied to pretty much anything to really bring to life that trifecta we were describing before of really celebrating your performance work, finding a more accessible audience or way in, and really leveraging new technology to accomplish those two goals. So starting with that H, we're going to open any of our communications or our conversations with a highlight, giving them really the top level down so that they have the most important information and often the most controversial or catchy information right up at the front. I find this is very useful for two key reasons. First of all, nobody reads anything and people only watch about 7 seconds of something before they choose to swipe on to the next thing. So you want to make sure that they have a big piece of information right up at the top that really sets the stage for what you want to talk about. If they're going to leave, let them make that choice to leave because they're actually not interested, not just because they got bored or couldn't digest your information. You also notice that there's some highlighting features to the opening of every single one of my videos. I am moving with the camera, so there's a lot of energy and momentum and movement to the content. I'm talking very fast-paced, very direct, very strong about what I'm saying, very rehearsed, so it feels like I'm an authority on the subject. That confidence is coming through. I'm wearing a big dumb hat, which is brightly colored, seems a little out of alignment. You want to know what this guy is all about. Why is he being so serious about labor actions, but he's wearing a very, very stupid hat? It confuses the brain just long enough to stop that scroll and let the audience decide if they want to invest. And this is useful in any social media post that we want to do, any promotion of a show or a project, our query letters to casting directors, agents, and managers, or communications we want to bring to life about sensitive issues within the union. Often, if you look at a 6-page email, your eyes are going to gloss over and you're going to go, I don't have time to take all that in. But if there's a quick action item that you feel like you can read, digest, and get back to somebody on, you might be able to poke away at a problem much faster through highlights. Next, we want an overview of you, not the issue at hand, not the controversial topics, not the information that we haven't digested yet, but quickly getting to know who you are as a human, why I should care, why you're the authority on this subject. Especially as social media has become so remixed and so oversaturated, what we really want to connect to is that human element, that expert element, that you are truly the person we need to be talking to or hearing from about this issue. Obviously, in your own career, you are the expert. But when it comes to these other subject matters, really being able to support and quickly back up, this is why I'm passionate about this topic, lets the reader or the viewer immediately feel a sense of authenticity and authority. On social media during the strike, my overview became not only familiar, but ultimately parodied by other people around me of, I'm not a celebrity, I'm not a millionaire, I'm a jobber in over 100 TV shows, movies, video games, and commercials. What's lovely about this is I'm immediately letting people know that I'm not just some blowhard that has just a random opinion from outside the industry, but I'm also not just sitting back pretty. This labor action means something to me. This is how I put food on my table, and I've been doing this for a really long time. So if I'm out here fighting for this, there's probably a reason, and maybe I might have a story to tell you about it. And that gets us into the core subject or information that you want to provide in your video or your email or your communication that you think the reader really needs to unpack. And it's surrounded by overlays or media-rich enhancements that'll really let your presentation pop and provide supporting evidence to the things that you're saying on screen. This works on social media because our brains are so conditioned at this point to be sitting there swiping and scrolling. And so if you do the swipe for them by changing what they're seeing on the screen, it helps let them reset and feel more comfortable and hopefully retain longer into your video. And I find myself doing this in email communication as well, either by hyperlinking out to a specific resource or reference that I want to make. So that way I'm saying the talking point, but if someone wants to click for the supporting document, the article, the video, they can go do that. Or embedding really nice visuals in between my pockets of text so that people don't feel they're inundated. Oh my gosh, I did not know my computer would do that. It's a big celebration that we're having over here. Um, but it showcases my point perfectly. You put these visuals inside of your presentation to mix it up, to spice it up, and to break up the information that is being given. Next and finally, we'll go into the K, which I think of as the kickoff or the call to action, really. You're letting the user know, okay, now that you've got this information, this is what I would like you to do about it, or leave them with something provocative enough that's going to demand a response, demand feedback, demand a question. This can be trying to get people to address something in the comments and respond to you, maybe DM you about something that's going on that you need some support on, respond to your email or a very specific question or query that you have. Or in my case, I was constantly trying to drive more people to the line in unity and really try to get people resolved and in solidarity around our shared struggle, whether or not they could physically come to the line or whether they could just be more supportive by sharing this content globally with others who maybe didn't understand what the actors were fighting for. So that's the general hook that I brought to every single video that really leveraged these efforts into videos that reached tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, and grew my followers by tens of thousands of people, not just because I could have more followers, but so that I could have more community. These were people who wanted to follow me specifically for updates about my career and the SAG-AFTRA strike as a source of information that wasn't going to yell at them, wasn't going to criticize them, and wasn't going to be biased with my own personal perspective. I said some good and some bad stuff about all sides throughout the process based off of the shared frustrations we were having on the front line. And this, I think you could bring into all of your communications, whether they're for equity or your own personal career. And so as we step back a little bit and I stop talking and start listening so we can have a bit more of a dialogue, I want to focus on the elephant in the room, that the most successful thing I've ever done is not a TV show in Los Angeles or a play in New York City or a movie that I shot internationally. It's videos I made on my phone that could have been from anywhere. It's just that I was using effective communication for an effective and activated community. And anybody can bring that to life wherever they are. And so wherever you are in your own performance journey, I want to return to that trifecta, using the hook to leverage new technology to showcase your performance career and your performance journey to the most accessible audience, whatever that means to you and wherever that is. If that means that you want to move to a larger metropolitan area and pursue the professional opportunities there, that's fantastic. But I work every single day with influencers and content creators across genres and modalities, from filmmaking to social media content to 360 content to live virtual reality, who are in pockets all over the country and all over the world, telling their story and being artists in their own way. And so that's certainly on the table, because what makes you an actor is the act of acting. And you can do that however you choose to do it, so long as you hook your audience and follow the trifecta of reaching them.
And with that, questions. Ben, let's have Ben first.
Really interesting. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Ben.
Hi. One of the things I found with sort of trying to communicate outside of, like, through social media, is it often feels like I'm just yelling into a void, and that can be discouraging. Any thoughts, reflections, comments?
Sure. I mean, I think own the fact that that is exactly what you are doing. We are just shouting into a void because that is what those tools really are. But I think that when you're sharing content and messaging in a specific way, um, think about who you're targeting. So I started by trying to really communicate really to my core family. I would literally listen to an uncle give me the talking points he was hearing from Fox News, and I would say, "Oh, okay, that's what I need to respond to," in a non-directional or confrontational way, but kind of a general educational way that then other people found informative. And what I think in the early days feel the most useful is really latch on to anyone that responds, even if it's one commenter that is just your friend that's just commenting back and forth, so that you are having an active dialogue in that space. But I think that social media is only helpful, you are correct, if there's a social interaction happening. And I think that in some ways you have to kind of own that you are shouting into a void until the void responds.
Thanks, Ben.
Hi, Mel.
Hey, Mel, let's bring Mel on screen. There you go.
Hi, everybody. Brendan, just following on from Ben's comment and the answer you've just given, do you find now with your increased insert word popularity following that has become overwhelming? Because surely as numbers increased, it becomes impossible to engage with everybody that's commenting. Is that a situation you find yourself in?
I can't imagine what it must be for people who truly have like millions of followers. And surely that must be exhausting and overwhelming. I think I can take a quick cursory glance of things that come in, and I now have regular people that I only know through the internet that are regularly commenting, and I really enjoy the dialogues we get to have. And then there's people that I recognize are just snarky trolls, that are there to kind of mess with me. And I can just see their name and gloss over it. So there's kind of in real time curation that is happening, like any good community. At this point, we're kind of getting to know each other as community members in this small little pocket of the internet. And I can do kind of good curation of my own of who at the party I want to mingle with each day.
I suppose that comes with experience and time as to how you filter one from the other.
Yes, I would say the biggest thing to look out for, if you find yourself ever in one of these little pockets where more people are watching it than you were expecting, your DMs get quite crowded, mostly by spam. Is that the robots are telling other robots that this account is very popular, and so you'll get this big uptick in spam, especially on your request list. And that was probably the most unnecessary time coming through that, to find the good people that really just wanted to connect and or give a food donation or learn how they could come to the line.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Ian.
Ian's our regional organizer. Ian, your question.
Thank you very much, Brendan. That was fascinating talk. Thank you very much. I suppose as someone that works for Equity, your sister union over here, mine's more of a union question than an acting or an arts question, which was well done with the success last year after the strike. We're hoping in the UK to kind of replicate a number of your successes in our negotiations this year. I was just wondering, given your involvement in the union, and particularly around the issue of AI, do you consider the studios to want to keep pressing that particular issue, given how important it is for them in terms of undercutting the role of humans almost in terms of their role in the industry? So I suppose it's well done for the success, but how long do you think it might be before the studios come back to return to the discussion about AI as a tool that they can use in production?
Sure. I think there's a couple points on that. So we just wrapped up the Labor Innovation and Technological Summit right next to CES, which is specifically for labor unions to discuss how these technologies might be implemented or abused. And so we heard from about 30 different unions and their leadership about issues or patterns that they're seeing. I think we always have to recognize that our employers, their job is to fundamentally devalue us to make profits. That is always going to be their objective, and we are always going to push back on that. And that is just inherently going to be the fight of labor. But when it comes to AI specifically as a technology, I think what was revealed most interestingly in this negotiation phase is they don't even know how they want to use it yet, or if they can use it yet, because this technology is shrouded in quite a bit of hype and quite a bit of mythology. So there are very active things that people are doing with data and definitely trying to learn how labor operates so that they can supplement or replace some of those labor in those pipelines. But a lot of VFX artists are really seeing it will affect their bottom line first, because where you can quickly change this with a plugin is going to be the things that could be that swappable, which is going to be a lot of these technological pipelines to try to efficientize what's happening. So our sister unions are really far more worried about the immediacy of these concerns, whereas I think when it comes to performance work, there's going to be much more exploratory. I think we're already seeing voice really be a big thing, and that there is pretty compelling voice simulation and synthetics being made, but it still isn't flawless. And especially given the fact that they're still going to have to attribute, based off of our contract language, where they got it from and consult with us about what it is and who it is underneath that. And they're already dealing with copyright claims about where they sourced their data to build these language models. I think that we're going to run into the issue that many brands have had with influencers, where it looked really cheap and easy to just go get some kids on the internet. And then you figured out that if they misrepresented your brand, the legal nightmare might actually be more expensive than just having engaged union talent and professionals. And so I think that in the short term, we're going to see them keep trying to break the rules or bend the rules as much as they can. But in these short orders, they don't even know really what they can get away with. And it may ultimately be more expensive legally to go outside the boundaries than to just try to make good faith efforts with the union.
That's such a brilliant answer. Thank you very much.
Of course.
If there is any questions that people have from that, we've got the video which I will make available to members. But rather than losing Brendan in the middle of a walk, I think, shall we say thank you very much to Brendan? If you want to open your microphones and just give him a thank you very much, round of applause. Thank you so much, Brendan, and we will release you to the airport.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you, friends. And I'm in solidarity with you.
Thank you.
Bye.